story I've told many times to several people. I think back a lot to when I was a kid and then an older kid and then an older kid still, and how as I got older I grew to resent poetry, and I always blamed it on school because the poetry that I got at school was dead white guys, and I wasn't impressed with that. But then too, I am very romantic, and I remember being in high school, and that is one of the most romantic times of one's life. And I remember being so embarrassed by how romantic I felt, because at home, where I was also romantic, I was romantic in private because romance was decidedly disdained. Not that there wasn't poetry at home. There was a lot of poetry. There was E.E. Cummings, and then, the poetry of life and existence. And I am very grateful for that. But anyway, when I was embarrassed by the poetry and by being drawn to poetry, by that type of lyrical, like, wilderness, romantic expression. My opinion is just that poetry itself is very romantic, even if it's not romantic poetry. But anyway, I remember very vividly reading the poem "I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud," and my mother being very mocking about it and like making fun of it, that it was dippy, as she would put it. And so automatically I felt like I could not like that. But then "I wandered lonely as a cloud" is just a line that has stuck in my head my whole life. Well, not my whole life, but my whole life upon learning of it. And I think about being like, I wandered lonely as a cloud, and thinking of clouds as lonely. Because when I see clouds, I think of them as a collective. Even if there's only one in the sky. And in that case, it's highlighted, it's spotlighted. It commands your attention, but then that is one of the things about being in the spotlight, is it's very lonely. That's certainly one of the reasons why I issue the spotlight. And I look at the poem right now, and if it's all right with you, I will read some of it to you. "I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in a never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. What's funny, I guess I'll read the whole poem, but what's funny to me now is how often I misremembered that I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud is by William Wordsworth, and it is not by Walt Whitman. Speaking of which, I'm reading Leaves of Grass, which is very uncharacteristic of me because, again, I historically am very anti-canonical. I have been anti-canonical anything, but I've, at this point on the journey, decided I want to go back and rebel against my own contrariness, I guess. Be like, well, hang on a second now. Let me investigate this. What's this all about? So, what is this all about? Here's some of it. Page 8. Of all nations, the United States, with veins full of poetical stuff, most need poets, and will doubtless have the greatest and use them the greatest. Their presidents shall not be their common referee so much as their poet shall. Of all mankind, the great poet is the equable man. Not in him, but off from him, things are grotesque or eccentric or fail of their sanity. Nothing out of its place is good, and nothing in its place is bad. He bestows on every object or quality its fit proportions, neither more nor less. He is the arbiter of the diverse, and he is the key. He is the equalizer of his age and land. He supplies what wants supplying and checks what wants checking. If peace is the routine, out of him speaks the spirit of peace, large, rich, thrifty, building vast and populous cities, encouraging agriculture and the arts and commerce, lighting the study of man, the soul, immortality, federal, state, or municipal government, marriage, health, free trade, intertravel by land and sea. Nothing too close, nothing too far off. The stars not too far off. In war, he is the most deadly force of the war. Who recruits him recruits horse and foot. He fetches parks of artillery, the best that engineer ever knew. If the time becomes slothful and heavy, he knows how to arouse it. He can make every word he speaks draw blood. Whatever stagnates in the flat of custom or obedience or legislation, he never stagnates. Obedience does not master him, he masters it. High up out of reach he stands, turning a concentrated light. He turns the pivot with his finger. He baffles the swiftest runners as he stands and easily overtakes and envelops them. The time straying toward infidelity and confections and persiflage he withholds by his steady faith. He spreads out his dishes. He offers the sweet, firm-fibered meat that grows men and women. His brain is the ultimate brain. He is no arguer. He is judgment. He judges not as the judge judges, but as the sun falling around a helpless thing. As he sees the farthest, he has the most faith. His thoughts are the hymns of the praise of things. In the talk on the soul and eternity and God off of his equal plane, he is silent. He sees eternity less like a play and with a prologue and denouement. He sees eternity in men and women. He does not see men and women as dreams or dots. Faith is the antiseptic of the soul. It pervades the common people and preserves them. They never give up believing and expecting and trusting. There is that indescribable freshness and unconsciousness about an illiterate person that humbles and mocks the power of the noblest expressive genius. The poet sees for a certainty how one, not a great artist, may be just as sacred and perfect as the greatest artist. The power to destroy or remold is freely used by him, but never the power of attack. What is past is past. If he does not expose superior models and prove himself by every step he takes, he is not what is wanted. The presence of the greatest poet conquers, not parleying or struggling or any prepared attempts. Now he has passed that way, see after him. There is not left any vestige of despair or misanthropy, or cunning, or exclusiveness of the ignominy of a nativity, or color, or delusion of hell, or the necessity of hell. And no man thenceforward shall be degraded for ignorance, or weakness, or sin. Thanks, everyone. I love you. Goodbye.